This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm sharing with you my experience with my no spend October. Today, I'm talking about some fails. Wah, wah. I had a few oops moments. I had a few situations where I'm like, I'm going to spend the money anyways. And I just had a couple times where I was like, oh, yep, that's right. I am doing a no spend month. Shouldn't have bought that. So I actually had 4 instances that I would consider fails. The first one happened pretty early in the month, probably like October 3rd or 4th or something. So my parents took 3 of my kids to go see a movie. So I dropped my kids off and I was going to pick them up. And rather than going home, I just stayed at the mall. Now, I actually do not enjoy shopping at all. I was there with my youngest. He was in a stroller. We just basically walked around the mall for 2 hours while they were at the movie. I didn't spend anything, but I forgot my water at home. And so I ended up buying a $4 iced tea because I was so thirsty. And I was like, I'm not going to make it. I tried to go as long as possible, but I knew my son was thirsty too. So I could justify it by like, I can't let my baby die of thirst. I have to buy a Starbucks iced tea and he and I are going to share it. So that's what I did. So I felt a little guilty about that because it was only a few days in and I was like, really? I'm already spending money when I intended not to on something I don't actually need. But in that situation, I talked about this yesterday. There's a lot of things that are borderline. So I would say, if you forgot your water, you're someplace for a really long time. Yeah, you should have brought your water, but you know what? I'm going to buy the iced tea so I'm not suffering anymore. The second fail is that my husband and I decided that my kids had a Friday off of school and the weather was beautiful. It was like sunny, perfect temperature, not too hot, not too cold. So we took our family to this huge farm. It had a pumpkin patch, it had hay rides, a corn maze, like all these activities for the kids. The place is amazing. I loved it. We've been there before. It's like the thing that you have to do. You can't not go to the pumpkin patch when you have little kids. But this place is not free. In fact, tickets were $25 per person, all ages, like not even like free for kids under 4. No. So for 6 of us, it cost $150 for our entire family to go to this amazing farm. But it was worth it. And I agonized a little bit over it because I did say that I wasn't going to spend any money on activities. Could I have gone to a pumpkin patch for free? Yeah, but this place is awesome and it was worth it. So I was like, screw this, no spend, no October. I'm doing this. So that was fail number 2. The third fail was my son had a soccer game and I told my 4-year-old, I said, Theodore, he's rambunctious and he would be the kid like running around on the field. So I bribed him. I was like, Theodore, if you are a good boy, during the soccer game, I'll take you to Jamba Juice and you can get a smoothie afterwards. So he was a good boy and he behaved himself and he sat there and cheered his brother on without running on the field and stealing the ball. But I made this promise before I realized, like, dang it, I don't want to be spending this money. So I ended up spending $8 on a couple of smoothies for my kids at Jamba Juice one day. Then the last one, this was my biggest fail of all. So I play golf and my husband has been giving me a bad time for like the last 2 years about how my golf clubs are pretty old. Not just age-wise, but like they've seen a lot of rounds of golf. They're like 13, 14 years old, maybe older. Anyways, they're pretty old at this point. So I had a golf club fitting scheduled, and I did this before I decided I was going to do the no spend month. So golf clubs, if you're buying custom clubs that are fit to you and you're not buying like a random set at like Costco or something, they're not cheap. So I was like, I don't want to cancel the appointment. I don't want to wait until the winter time because my game is terrible in the winter times. But I was like, I got it on a technicality because I was like, oh, well, I'm going to have the fitting. This was like kind of middle of the month. I'm going to have the fitting, but I'm actually not going to pay for the clubs until I pick them up. So like I'll get charged later on. I wasn't going to have to pay for them up front. So I was like, oh, so I'm not going to technically spend the money until November. I'm technically not breaking the rules. So I would consider that my biggest fail of the month because it was a lot of money to spend money on getting some new golf clubs. I got a whole new set of irons and all the way through my wedges. Golf clubs, the pings that I bought are not cheap, but I will not be paying for it until the month of November. So yeah, I don't know. You tell me if you think that I should have rescheduled. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.